Boba Fett has come to a close, so it's time to stop and rank all 3 Star Wars live-action seasons from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of the 3 Star Wars live-action seasons. My list isn't the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. Also, if you enjoy this content, I've done a ton of Star Wars content, whether about the movies or the TV seasons. You can check those out in these playlists right up here, and let's get started. Coming in last place is The Mandalorian Season 2.5, or The Book of Boba Fett, as it is properly titled. There was so much potential here. There was even a bunch of really fun moments, but at the end of the day, this season left me disappointed almost from beginning to end. On the positive side, of course, it's just fun to be in the world of Star Wars. It's nice that the Boba Fett character is no longer just a guy in a helmet that's mysterious, but now he's a fleshed out character who's gone through transformation. There are certain scenes in this season that were just a gift to longtime Star Wars fans, that we finally got to see Luke Skywalker doing specific things and Ahsoka interacting with Luke. Just really great stuff. We get to see some follow-up to stuff that happened in Mandalorian Season 2 that was very cool. And at the same time, the actual central plot of this season just felt horribly underdeveloped. And it was like a story that had a very extended first act that went through the first 4 episodes, and then a third act that took place in the 7th episode, and there's no middle act. In which case, it's a story that takes way too long to set up the threat and never develops anything beyond that. Especially the villains, the Pikes, they get no development in the show. They're just this faceless evil syndicate that when they're defeated at the end, you feel absolutely nothing. And you should be want to see Boba Fett take them out because of what he did to the Tusken Raiders, but you don't. Even the stuff with the Tusken Raiders, they set up some really interesting plots there and places to take things, and it's just like they chopped it off at its knees and ended that plotline way too soon, and in a way that left a mystery there that the show didn't present it as a mystery, so you didn't care when there was a twist reveal regarding it. Beyond that, the 2 best episodes weren't about Boba Fett. They weren't about the main plot. And that tells you everything you need to know, that's when you really get invested, is when you stop being about your lead character and your actual plot. That's a really bad sign, in which case there were things I enjoyed here. I was never really bored with this season. I just don't think it was written very well at all. Our runner-up, The Mandalorian Season 2. And to be very clear, there's a big gap between Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian Season 2, because I loved Mandalorian Season 2, and I strongly debated which of the 2 Mandalorian seasons would be the one that came in the top spot. Now, on the positive, when it came to this season, because Season 1 established such a strong foundation, and the relationship between Mando and Grogu and our villain, his place in this whole story, it meant that we really kind of were able to dive into the big, gigantic adventure with Season 2, trying to figure out what to do with Grogu, find some other Jedi people to watch him, and then have our final showdown with these remnant Imperials. Now, I think the thing that hurt this season over Season 1 for me is that the way it was episodic was a little bit frustrating. Because in this season, it was much more of Mando gets a tip to go to this place. He goes to that place. We meet a familiar face, finally in live action, and that they have an adventure. And then Mando learns the next place he needs to go, where he goes to that place, and we meet another familiar face, finally in live action. They have a little adventure, and then he finds out the next place he's supposed to go. And so the individual stories themselves were very much just about find out the next place he needs to go next week. Wait till he'll see another familiar face. So it's just a little bit thin on the plot. At the same time, it was just really cool to see a bunch of these characters in live action, finding out what some of them were up to. Some of them, like Cobb Vanth, who was introduced in the Aftermath novels, just a really great character. They got Timothy Olyphant, and just a nice addition that kind of fleshed things out. And then, of course, as you move into the final couple of episodes where the stakes started getting cranked up and all of these characters teamed up with Mando in the final showdown to rescue Grogu, and then Luke Skywalker shows up, It was awesome. It just paid off so well. I wish there was more meat to the actual week-to-week adventures that were happening. And if there'd just been a little bit more meat, it isn't even an elite a lot more, it would have gotten that #1 spot because there were just so many cool things. Ahsoka in live action. I mean, Luke back, returning. This amazing, amazing stuff. So I really did love this season. But in first place is Mandalorian Season 1. And I might say that this is the best Star Wars that we've gotten since the original trilogy. It returned back to the roots of Star Wars, which is kind of this Western in space, highly influenced by like samurai films from Akira Kurosawa. And you have this lone bounty hunter sent off on this mission and discovers this young baby Yoda that he doesn't know what to do with. And that causes this hardened bounty hunter to re-examine himself, his worldview, where he's challenged of what does he do in light of this responsibility that he now has. It starts bonding with this character. As you go throughout the season, they start to borrow heavily from the templates of a bunch of Westerns, and he shows up and has to help villagers and goes on a heist, and a bunch of different things happen. They're just fun little mini adventures in the world of Star Wars. And while the world of Star Wars does have Force users as an element kind of going on here, that's a side thing. This isn't a Skywalker saga story. It's not a hero's journey. It's this guy learning to care about this youngling that he's taken in and living according to the code that he knows. It's filled with quotable lines, memorable sequences, twists, turns, reveals. And like I said, Mandalorian Season 1 and 2, I think they complement each other really nicely because Season 1 established a foundation so nicely. You're able to do Season 2 where you bring in all these characters. But it is that strong foundation that I think works a little bit better for me as a standalone thing, outside of just being like, hey, it's cool to see that person. Hey, look, it's Luke. Therefore, I'm going to put Season 1 above Season 2, but I love both of them. I think both of them are awesome. I think both of them paid off really nicely. And I appreciate that the storytelling here in a lot of ways is very subdued. It's not trying to tell the most complex, layered story. It's telling these nice, simple Western template stories in the world of Star Wars. We're playing around in this world, and that's what I like about this show. Not everything needs to be so layered and complex, and because it's not, you just really buy into the relationship between these two characters that slowly forms over this passage of time with the adventures that they're on, which you believe in the fact that Mando would start to change in light of this relationship, this bond that's formed that's so deep. And so for me, that's why it edges out Season 2 just a little bit, because I think it does the storytelling a bit better, but I think they complement each other really nicely. They're both way up here. Boba Fett's kind of down here, quite a bit behind it. But Mandalorian Season 1 comes in at #1. If you enjoyed this video, I've got more like it. You can check out my Star Wars top rankings right over there. You can check out my other Star Wars Disney Plus content right down there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.